Good day, class. Welcome to our class subject, Science, Technology, and Society. For today, we will discuss the Unit 1 to 4. Basically, madali lang naman siya, no? Kaya, isang lecture na lang. And I decided to record this lecture para you can play it all over again para if meron man kayong na-miss or what, you can just, play it again and watch the video. So for Unit 1, of course, we will discuss ano ba yung science, technology, and society. What is science, what is technology, and what is society? Since those are the three words na nagko-compose ng subject natin. For SDS, or science, technology, and society, it is actually a study of how society, politics, and culture affect scientific research and technological innovation, and how this in turn affects society, politics, and culture. So technically, iikot ang subject natin on how science and technology affects society and vice versa, no? But of course, we need to, yung define first what science muna, technology, and society. Yung science, elementary pa tayo, lagi na nating inaaral yan. I mean, yung ating early years na tayo ay nag-aaral, hindi po pwedeng wala ang science. And by definition, it is the knowledge about or study of natural world based on facts learned through experiments and observation. Ulitin ko ha, through experiments and observation. Kasi when we hear the word science, laging I don't know about you guys, but majority of my students or mga students na nakausap ko na before, pag tinatanong ko sila, ano ba ang unang pumapasok sa isip mo kapag naririnig mo yung salitang science? Ang madalas na sinasagot is, sir, experiment, sir, observation. It's more on experiment kasi nga, 'di ba? Sa science lagi 'yun ang ginagawa, no? So, it is done through observation of natural phenomena and or through experimentation that tries to stimulate natural process under controlled condition, no? That is technically science, no? I think lahat naman tayo may idea what science is. Now, going to technology, it is a science or knowledge put into practical use to solve problems or invent useful tools. Technically speaking, technology is a science that we use, for practical reason that tries to solve a problem. And of course, pwede mag-invent ng useful tools. Maraming technology. Ito nga lang ginagamit natin ngayon. It's a way of technology. And for society, it is the sum total of our interaction as humans, including the interaction that we engage in, figure things out, and make things. It is also a group of individuals involved in persistent social interaction, or a large social group sharing the same geographical or social territory, typical subject to the same political authority and dominant culture expectation. That is society, Again, society, for example, tayo dito sa BATAAN lang, meron tayong society dito, we are part of that large social group, we are sharing the same geographical and social territory, for instance, so that is society. Now, for Unit 1, madali lang naman siya, technically kapag ka nasagot natin ang mga katanungan na to, matatapos tayo sa ating Unit 1. First question is, or these following questions, of course, we need to answer. So, how is science used in technology? The role of science and technology. So, ano ba yun? How is science can have an effect on society? How is science and technology can affect on society, and how can society influences science. If you can remember, I already gave you an activity answering this question. So more or less, you know, yung mga sagot na dito. But of course, we would need to discuss this. So how is science used in technology? Diba? So science and technology, no? Yung science, kung mapansin nyo, ang technology ay resulta lamang ng science. Without science, hindi naman talaga mabubuo ang technology. Because, ulitin ko, technology is just a part of science. Naging resulta lang ng science yan. And without proper scientific research, observation, experimentation, technology would not be possible din naman talaga. So, parang science, kailangan siya to produce more technology, advancement of technology, So, hindi yan mabubuo ng hindi siya basta-basta mabubuo without science. Science is the pursuit of knowledge about the natural world through systematic observation experiments. Like I've said, it's through science we develop technology. Technology is like what we've discussed kanina or nasabi na natin. It is the application of scientifically gained knowledge for practical purpose or purposes. Scientists also use technology in all the experiments naman. Now, what are the roles of science and technology? Sa atin, sa buhay natin, so science and technology can alter the way people live, how we connect, how we communicate, how we transact. It also affects the economy or economic development. Noon, wala namang internet. Noon, wala namang cellular phone. Meron tayong mga basic phone lang or yung if naalala nyo pa nga, may mga payphone pa, etc. Medyo inabutan ko pa yon, hanggang sa nagkaroon beeper, etc. Ngayon, with default, it's possible. Noon, hindi, parang naisip lang namin yan. What if ang telepono ay touchscreen? What if ganito? Because of that imagination and continuous development, nagkakaroon ng advancement of technology and the way people live, mas napapadali, especially communication. These are key drivers of development because technological and scientific revolutions underpin economic advances, improvements in health system, education, and infrastructure. The technological revolution of the 21st century is emerging from entirely new sectors, based on microprocessors, telecommunication, biotechnology, nanotechnology. Products are transforming business practices across the economy, as well as the lives of all who have access to their effects. The most remarkable breakthrough will come from the interaction of insights and application arising when these technologies converge. We also have now the power to better the lives of the poor people in developing countries. We differentiators between countries that are able to tackle poverty effectively by growing and developing their economies and those that are not. It is also an engine of growth. Interventions of cognitive enhancement, like the proton cancer therapy and genetic engineering, lahat yan nangyayari. Napakahalaga. It is very vital for us human, yung science and technology. It makes our lives easier. Para simplihan natin, it makes our life easier, and one way or another, prolong our life then, because of technological advancement in medicine, the way sa education, like for now, because meron tayo kinakaharap na crisis because of COVID, but we are still able to study because of science and technology. Tayo ay nakakapag meet pa din through Google Meet, etc. If hindi naman tayo if meron naman tayong, let's say, yung aking mga synchronous, we instructors can still record this lectures for you to be able to watch, mas madali para sa inyo ngayon, noon gamit na gamit ang mga library, but for now telepono lang hawak ng isang tao, hawak mo na yung mundo. Why? Google mo lang, doon na lahat, mas madali, tapos third, how is science can have an effect on society. So, science can affect, technically, pag-isahin na natin to, how is science can have an effect on society, and how is science and technology can affect on society. Siguro, mas madali pag-isahin na natin. Science and technology had a major impact or have a major impact on the society, and vital yung impact niya sa growth ng society. Una nga, like I've said kanina, it makes our life easier. It gives a man a chance to pursue societal concerns such as ethics, education, justice. It creates parang yung culture na babago din, and it improves human conditions. Science also influences society through its knowledge and worldview. Scientific knowledge and the procedure used by scientists influence the way many individuals and society thinks about themselves, others, and environment. Science also influences society through knowledge, like I've said kanina, knowledge and world's view. Kasi without science and technology, walang advancement na mangyayari. So even we as human, we're part of the society. Ngayon, if walang advancement, if walang science and technology, lahat ng comfort na nakukuha natin ngayon, let's say, ngayon, yung era na lang natin ngayon, lahat ng comfort na experience natin ngayon, I think hindi iyon mangyayari. Kung nagkaroon ng COVID nung panahon walang internet, isipin mo paano nag-aaral ang mga bata or kayo. Paano kayo magkakaroon ng improvement sa medical. I think the vaccine, baka instead na isa or 2 taon mag-improve ng sobra yung vaccine na ginagawa ngayon, if ang ating science and technology mababa, baka abutin yan ng decades. Kamukha yan ng mga unang-unang panahon nung nagkakaroon ng iba't ibang sakit, like yung mga plague before. So ang tagal bago naka-recover ng society. Kaya nga napakahalaga ng science and technology at malaki talaga yung impact niya sa society. But of course, hindi lang naman kasi science and technology ang nag-i-effect sa society. The society itself can affect science and technology. So we go to dun sa last question. How can a society or society influence science? The impact of science and technology in society is very evident naman. But of course, society can also influence science. There are social influences on the direction and emphasis of scientific and technological development through pressure groups, on a specific issue, through general accepted social views, values, and priorities. Kumbaga, instead na magkaroon ng advancement pa, more on sa science and technology, minsan kasi because of yung ating views, pwede kasi yan na view on the religion, political, etc., medyo nahihinder yung advancement. For example, cloning. Nakapag-clone na tayo ng mga animals. Kaya lang because of the culture, the value, social group, political, religious views, etc., Yung cloning naman ngayon sa human, talagang pinagbabawal. No? So, instead na nagkakaroon ng advancement, I'm not saying that I'm pro or I'm against, no? Wala. Napag-uusapan lang naman. Napag-uusapan lang naman natin. No? We're just trying to make a point on how society can influence science. No? Parang, nandun na tayo eh. Nandun na tayo. No? So, yeah, it's not about my view on if cloning is, or if I'm against or I'm pro doon sa cloning, but it's just we're trying to make a point on how society can influence science. No, instead na ito na, we can do a trial if we can really clone human, because it's already been done sa animals eh, no? So, yun, medyo kung makikita niyo yung point, na stop, no? Kasi nga bawal, no? So, ganon. So, basically, yun po ang ating Unit 1. No? Unit 1 is just para overview what science, technology, and society is, or society are, and then how these three intertwine. No? Because this subject, this is just a subject wherein we will talk about the relationship of the two, or the three rather. No? Kailangan lang natin silang unang alamin kung ano yung tawag dito, kung ano yung kanilang effect, or yung kanilang effect sa bawat isa. Now, for Unit 2, ito ay binigay ko na rin activity sa inyo. No? So, History of Science and Technology in the Philippines. No. So, History of Science and Technology in the Philippines. Science and technology in the Philippines had experienced periods of intense growth, as well as a long periods of stagnation. No. And the main agency that is responsible here, it's the Department of Science and Technology, no? So the DOST. No, let's talk about now the pre-Spanish era. No. During the pre-Spanish era, even before the colonization of the Spaniards in the Philippine island, or Philippine Islands, the natives of the archipelago already had practices linked to science and technology. Filipinos were already aware of the medicinal and therapeutic properties of plants and the methods of extracting medicine from herbs. They already had an alphabet, number system, a weighing and measuring system, and a calendar. Filipinos were already engaged in farming, shipbuilding, mining, and weaving. The Banawe rice terraces are among the sophisticated products of engineering by the pre-Spanish era Filipinos. No? And the Spanish colonial era naman, the colonization of the Philippines contributed to the growth of science and technology in the archipelago. The Spanish introduced formal education and founded scientific institutions. During the early years of Spanish rule in the Philippines, parish schools were established where religion, writing, reading, arithmetic, and music was taught. Sanitation and more advanced method of agriculture was taught to the natives. Later, the Spanish established colleges and universities in the archipelago, which, of course, this includes the oldest existing university in Asia, which is UST, or University of Santo Tomas. The galleon trade have accounted in the Philippine colonial economy. Trade was given more focus by the Spaniard colonial authorities due to the prospects of big profits. Agriculture and industrial development, on the other hand, were relatively neglected by that time. And the opening of the Suez Canal saw the influx of European visitors to the Spanish colony, and some Filipinos were able to study in Europe, who were probably influenced by the rapid development of scientific skills brought by the Age of Enlightenment. During the American period, the progress of science and technology in the Philippines continued under American rule of the island, or of the islands. On July 1st of 1901, the Philippine Commission established the Bureau of Government Laboratories, which was placed under the Department of Interior. The Bureau replaced the Laboratorio Municipal, which was established under the Spanish colonial era. The Bureau dealt with the study of tropical diseases and laboratory projects. On October 26th of 1905, the Bureau of Government Laboratories was replaced by the Bureau of Science and on December 8, 1933, the National Research Council of the Philippines was established. The Bureau of Science became the primary research center of the Philippines until World War II. Science during the American period was inclined towards agriculture, food processing, medicine, and pharmacy. Not much focus was given on the development of industrial technology due to free trade policy with the United States, which nurtured an economy geared towards agriculture and trade. In 1946, the Bureau of Science was replaced by the Institute of Science. In a report by the U.S. Economic Survey to the Philippines in 1950, there's a lack of basic information which were necessities to the country's industries, lack of support of experimental work and minimal budget for scientific research, and lack of support of experimental work and minimal budget for scientific research and low salaries of scientists employed by the government. In 1958, during the regime of President Carlos P. Garcia, the Philippine Congress passed the Science Act of 1958, which established the National Science Development Board. And during the post-Commonwealth era, this is the time during the 1970s, which was under the time of Ferdinand Marcos, or the late President Ferdinand Marcos. The importance given, or the importance in science was actually given. It actually grew, no? Under the 1973 Philippine Constitution, Article 15, Section 1, the government's role in the supporting scientific research and invention was acknowledged. In 1974, a science development program was included in the government's 4-year development plan, which covers the years 1974 to 1978. Funding for science was also increased. The National Science Development Board was replaced by the National Science and Technology Authority under the Executive Order Number 784. A scientific career in the civil service was introduced in 1983. In 1986, during the Corazon Aquino's presidency, the National Science and Technology Authority was replaced by the Department of Science and Technology, giving science and technology a representation in the cabinet. Under the medium-term Philippine Development Plan for the years 1987 to 1992, science and technology's role in the economic recovery and sustained economic growth was highlighted. During Corazon Aquino's State of the Nation address in 1990, she said that science and technology development shall be one of the top 3 priorities of the government towards an economic recovery. In August 8, 1988, Corazon Aquino created the Presidential Task Force for Science and Technology, which came up with the first Science and Technology Master Plan, or STMP. The goal of STMP was for the Philippines to achieve newly industrialized country status by the year 2000. Then the Congress did not put much priority in handing bills related to science and technology by the time. The Senate Committee on Science and Technology was one of the committees that handles the least amount of bills for deliberation. Former Science and Technology Secretary Serafin Folosco reported that the budget allocation for science and technology was increased to 1.054 billion peso in 1989 from the previous year's 464 million peso. However, due to the Asian financial crisis, budget allocation for the years 1990 and 1991 were trimmed down to 920 million and 854 million peso respectively. Budget allocation were increased to 1.7 billion peso in 1992. So that's the history of science and technology in the Philippines. Medyo masalimuot, ano? Kaya lang nakita niyo yung transition from the Spanish, pre-Spanish, Spanish, American, and post-Commonwealth era. Now let's talk about, let's move on to Unit 3. With this Unit 3, I already gave you an activity regarding this. What paradigm is, and what is a paradigm shift. A paradigm is a typical example or pattern of something. Technically, parang nagbuo nga kayo ng drawing, di ba? So it is a representation. It's a distinct set of concepts or thought patterns, including theories, research methods, postulates, and standards for what constitutes a legitimate contribution to a field. Ang paradigm ay madalas nyo rin makikita sa mga scientific research or sa mga researches, no? So, yun ang paradigm. Now, let's talk about paradigm shift. Paradigm shift is a fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions. A concept identified by the American physicist and philosopher Thomas Kuhn. A fundamental change in the basic concept and experimental practice or practices of a scientific discipline. Kuhn presented his opinion of a paradigm shift in his influential book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution, 1962. So, according to Kuhn, nag-create siya ng Kuhn cycle. So, ito yung parang representation of the cycle or yung paradigm natin. So, of course, kailangan muna natin malaman, no? Ano ba ang importansya ng paradigm shift? No, before we continue, no? Before we continue dito sa Kuhn cycle. So, paradigm shift is important because paradigm shift is another expression for more significant changes within the belief system. Nagkakaroon kasi ng changes from one belief to another, no? Within a philosophy of science, this concept is something considered important and is sometimes given a great attention within education because nagkakaroon ng improvement, no? Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng paradigm shift, no? So, let's talk about this Kuhn cycle. No, this is a simple cycle of progress described by Thomas Kuhn in 1962. No, in his seminal work, The Structure and Scientific Revolution, no, in structure Kuhn challenged the world's current conception of science, which was that it was a steady progression of accumulation of new ideas. No? In a brilliant series of reviews of past major scientific advances, Kuhn showed this viewpoint was wrong. No, science advanced the most of occasional revolutionary explosion of new knowledge, and each revolution triggered by introduction of new ways of thought so large they must be called new paradigms. No, so ito yung steps ng ating cycle, no? yung ating pre-science, normal or normal science, model shift, model drift, model crisis, model revolution. Then nagkakaroon ng paradigm change. Sa pre-science, it is called a pre-paradigm stage, where the pre-step of the main Kuhn cycle. In pre-science, there is not yet a model of understanding immature enough to solve a field's main problem. The field has no workable paradigm to successfully guide its work. Then, going to normal science, it identified and elaborated by Thomas Samuel Kuhn in this structure of scientific revolution is the regular work of scientists theorizing, observing, experimenting within a settled paradigm or explanatory framework. It is where the field has a scientifically based model of understanding that works. No, the model drift, however, the model of understanding starts to drift. So technically, nagkakaroon na ng changes, no, due to accumulation of anomalies and the phenomena and the model cannot explain. Then, nagkakaroon ng model crisis now. The most important step of them all in the Khan cycle, it's the model crisis, no. So the model drift becomes so excessive, the model is broken. It can no longer serve as a reliable guide to problem solving. Attempt to patch the model up to make it again. It attempts to patch the model to make it work, but of course it would fail, and the field is in anguish. Then the model revolution, it begins with a series candidates of new model emerge. Nagkakaroon na ng changes dito from one beliefs to another. Nagkakaroon na ng bagong model. Kasi from a new paradigm, again, nag-change na nga tayo. No? Nagkakaroon na ng bagong change ng bagong model. No? It is a revolution. It is a revolution because the new model is so radically different from an old one. A field's model of understanding is undergoing revolutionary change. The old model failed, and which caused the model crisis step. The model revolution step begins when one or more competing new models emerge from the crisis. Now, after the model revolution, nagkakaroon ng model revolution, that's where the last, it's the paradigm change. Nagkakaroon tayo ng paradigm change. Or yung tinatawag nating paradigm shift. No? In the paradigm change step, the new paradigm is taught to a newcomers of the field, no, sa field na pinag-uusapan, as well as those already in it, no. When the new paradigm becomes the generally accepted guide to one's work, the step is complete. A field is now back to a normal science step, and nabuo na yung Khan cycle, no. Now, technically, itong step na ito, itong pinag-uusapan natin step from the pre-science, normal, model, drift, crisis, model revolution, and paradigm change, mas madali natin iyang mas maintindihan kapag nagbigay tayo ng example. So, may mga paradigm shift tayo sa ating history. For example, sa society or sa ethics, slavery is acceptable. Na, kaya lang ngayon, hindi na. No? Saan pa ba may slavery? Lahat ng bansa halos ay kinokondemn ng slavery. No? Before, yung role ng children ay ang mga bata ay pinagtatrabaho. No? May mga child labor na pinag-uusapan. Ngayon, acceptable pa ba? I don't think so. No. Noon, ang mga lalaki superior. Parang yung mga lalaki, it's okay to beat women or yung mga babae, yung mga asawa nila. But now, it's not. No? Again, kasi maraming different fields. Kaya ito, naglagay tayo ng apat. Society, natural science, human sciences, and the arts. No? Sa society and ethics, again, slavery, it's a no now. Child labor, hindi na rin siya acceptable unlike before, no? Reading and the control over information, invention of the printing press allowed for the elites to control over reading, writing to end, but ngayon hindi na rin naman. For natural resources or natural sciences rather, before meron tayong ang tanggap lang noon, it's the Darwin's theory of evolution. Ngayon meron tayong ibang klase mga theory. Plate tectonics, it creates a physical model of the Earth's structure, no? And Albert Einstein's space-time is not fixed or objective, no? Subject to observe states of motion relative to another object. For human sciences, yung sa psychologist side, kay Sigmund Freud, no, we are not fully in control of our behavior. A subconscious part operates. Dati, hindi naman natin alam yun. No? So, in economics, the government intervention in economy is now accepted, which is true. No? As art, the realist paradigm, the purpose of the art is to copy reality. Totoo naman. No? Shakespeare's impact on drama and theater, yes, it's true. Up to now, yung mga gawa ni Shakespeare. No? Jazz and rock, revolutionary or revolutionizing music. No? But ngayon, nagbabago rin naman. No? Especially sa music industry. No? And we have different more parang different arts. No? So nagbabago talaga. Nagkakaroon ng shift. Now, let's go to Unit 4, Intellectual Revolution. Parang continuation lang naman ito ng Unit 3. But for Intellectual Revolution, no, it is a period where the paradigm shift actually occurred. No? It is where the scientific beliefs that we have been widely embraced and accepted by the people were challenged and opposed. No, nagkakaroon talaga ng changes. No? Kasi nga, kung yung mga dati pinapaniwalaan natin, ganito, dati nga pinapaniwalaan na ng mga tao ang mundo ay flat, may ending. Ngayon, nung nakita na, of course, nagbago. No? Bilog pala siya. No? So, for instance, bigyan lang tayo ng example. Ano? Kasi, dito sa intellectual revolution, again, marami tayong pwedeng ibigay na example, but maglalagay lang ako ng ilan. Ang pinaka medyo mas madali or mas madali nating intindihin ang intellectual revolution, ito yung geocentric model ni Ptolemy. Yung geocentric theory ni Ptolemy, it describes that the Earth, no, siya yung center ng lahat. So, for instance, makikita nyo, ito yung Earth, pinaikutan siya ng Moon, Sun, and different planets and stars. Kaya lang, it was opposed, no, itong heliocentric theory, no, kaya tinatawag naman itong the Copernican revolution, no. So dito nagkaroon ng change, no, from the shift from geocentric to heliocentric slowly happened through the contribution of different persons, no. Marami, kaya nga ngayon instead na ang Earth, no, sa ating geocentric theory, instead na ang Earth ay siya ang center ng universe, for example, no, siya yung center ng universe. Ngayon, of course, which we all know naman that the sun is the center of yung ating universe, no, or sa ating solar system, no. Hindi naman iyan ay basta nangyari lamang. Marami nag-contribute, no. For example, si Tycho Brahe, si Kepler, si Galileo, si Isaac Newton, no, for instance. So marami. Now, isa pa siguro, nagkaroon din ng Asian Revolution when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture and herbal medicine. No, before, of course, ginagamit siya. Well, actually hanggang ngayon naman. Kaya lang, syempre, nagkaroon ng changes. Nagkaroon tayo ng Western medicine now, no? Which, of course, nagkakaroon ng mas detalyadong pag-aaral, no, ng ating mga medicine. We're not saying that this Chinese medicine are less effective. Kaya nga sa ating mga kapatid na Chinese, ginagamit pa rin yan, no? Kaya lang, of course, nagkakaroon ng changes pa rin, no? Nag-emerge yung ating mga Western medicine, no? So, hindi lang tayo ngayong gumagamit ng mga herbal, no? Even naman before, kung makikita nyo yung ating history sa ating pre-Spanish era, Filipinos naman meron na rin naman sarili talagang mga medicinal na plants na ginagamit before pa. Kaya lang nagkaroon ng changes, no? Yung mga Western medicine, yung mga medicine na ginagamit natin ngayon. So, nagkakaroon talaga ng changes, no? So, technically po, kung makikita nyo, yung iba pang examples na binigay ko sa lectures, you can read it more, no? At makita nyo yung mga different examples ng ating lecture, no? Sa Africa, meron tayo. Sa Middle East, meron tayo the Mesoamerican, no? Marami, no? So the way information are being transmitted, no? Marami, no? So dito po nagtatapos yung ating lecture from for unit 1 to 4 sa ating subject na Science, Technology, and Society. Maybe yung unit 5 to 8 tayo gagawa na rin ng video for that. Mas maganda kasi at least you can watch again and again, ulit-ulit panoorin hanggang of course mas maintindihan natin kung ano ba talaga ang epekto ng Science, Technology, and Society sa isa't isa, no? So maraming salamat po, magandang araw.